The Duval Rundown, driven by Jacksonville Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram Westside, home of the lifetime warranty.
Good morning. Welcome to another edition of Duval Rundown. I'm Hayes Carline. Please be joined as always on Wednesday with Ryan O'Halloran, sports columnist of the Florida Times Union, does an outstanding job. You can follow him at Ryan O'Halloran. Ryan, good morning. How you doing?
I'm good, Hayes. I think the questions we're going to ask each other today will be a little more hard-hitting than what Lane Kiffin received on ESPN yesterday.
What's your favorite ice cream? Let's start with that win Sunday. Impressive win for the Jags. Did it say more to you about the Jaguars, more about the Chargers? What were sort of your takeaways from a dominant Jaguars victory?
Yeah, I'll look at it from the Jaguars prism. It was their best game of the season, which came after their most crippling loss, blown lead in franchise history. So I think that says something about the ability to regroup, the ability to bounce back, however you want to say it. You know, when you run 47 times, you're probably going to win. When you give up 135 yards, you're probably going to win handily. The Chargers were no-showed, but I got to give the Jaguars credit as they kicked the Chargers' butt. And it was the 29-point margin victory. It was 12th most in franchise history.
Wow. Yeah, that's impressive. As you start to – we talked about the stakes behind that game. The Jaguars get the spoils, have the tiebreaker now over the Chargers and the Chiefs. When you look at this remaining schedule, what do you think is a fair expectation in terms of wins? And would that number, in your opinion, be enough to get the Jaguars in?
Yeah, I think 10 should be 10 is a fair expectation, and I think 10 will get you in. I don't think the Chargers are going to make the playoffs. You know, they're 7-4 right now, but they still got the Chiefs, they still got the Broncos, and so and they're just so banged up, and help isn't on the way for the Chargers. So
they also have the Texans and Eagles.
Yeah, so I think, I mean, you're not going to stick a fork in a Jim Harbaugh team, but I think they're just running out of bodies right now.
Yeah.
You know, if the Jaguars can go to Phoenix on Sunday and win, you know, then they have the 6th spot. So I think 10-7 would get the Jaguars in, because I don't think there's a 10-7 team that hasn't made it in this format.
Interesting. Yeah, let's talk a little bit about Sunday's opponent, because I mean, honestly, like, Arizona may be the most nondescript team in the NFL. They don't often get primetime games. They haven't been all that good. The Jaguars obviously don't see them. I don't think they've been there since 8 years ago when Blaine Gabbert beat the 2017 team. So we don't, you know, it's one of these teams that it just doesn't pop. We know about Kyler Murray, but he's on IR. We know about Marvin Harrison Jr., but we're not sure if he'll play with appendectomy in the last 14 days. Digging in on the Cardinals, you know, they have some good things that they're doing despite the poor 3-7 mark. Give us an overview when you look at Arizona, what stands out, and are they a little bit better perhaps than what the record would indicate?
Well, the last 2 weeks would suggest that they're right about where they should be. By the way, Phoenix does not have Cardinals fever. Tickets starting at $18 on the secondary market if anybody from Jacksonville wants to make the trip. They're 1-7 in their last 8. They are without their starting quarterback, which is probably not a great detriment. Jacoby Brissett's probably better at this point. You mentioned Harrison. They're without Mack Wilson, their best linebacker. He's on IR. They do not have a punter on the roster right now. They cut their punter yesterday, and their other one's on IR. I think the key for the Jaguars is doing what Seattle and San Francisco did the last 2 weeks, is jumping on them. Seattle led 21-0 10 minutes in. The Niners led 13-0 5 minutes in. Jonathan Gannon totally on the hot seat in Arizona. So this team, if you're the Jaguars, go out there, take it seriously, go up early, and then lean on your defense to create more turnovers and get out of there with a win.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's almost from a coach's challenge standpoint, it's almost the complete 180 for Liam Cohen this week as opposed to what he faced last week. Last week it was, as you mentioned, you have a historic blown lead as an organization against a division rival. They regroup. To everybody's credit, coaches, players, they play 60 minutes of great football. beating the Chargers up and down the line of scrimmage for 60 minutes. Now you go into a game where all they're going to hear all week is how dominant they were. And now you sort of have to immediately flip it back as a coach to guarding against complacency, guarding against buying into where you are in the playoff seedings and things like that race. So it's going to be interesting. Liam Cohen was brilliant last week in how he handled it. Now it's almost the complete opposite of a challenge. This is an opponent that they never see. There's no juice to it. Dennis Gardeck may be motivated because it's his former team and he's always motivated, but there's not a lot to grab onto here as a coach other than, guys, we just showed what we're capable of. Let's keep that going. Be an interesting challenge after what Liam Cohen and his staff had to face last week.
Yeah, that's why I would practice in pads tomorrow on Thursday, because your defense, first of all, played 45 snaps. So maybe they'll grind them a little bit, say, hey, no resting on laurels, because a lot of times, the old saying, after your greatest triumph is your greatest challenge. That was their best game of the season on Sunday against the Chargers. Now you have another challenge. You're going on the road again. It seems like all they do is play on the road. So I think they found something in the run game with Etienne and Tootin. Divisional labor, pretty much 50-50. That's what I would do. I'd keep away a little bit and get play action and then throw it, because if you get up on Arizona, they're going to start questioning themselves. Their fans are going to start booing. Their fans may start leaving, those who do show up. So, don't give the Cardinals and Jacoby Brissett hope. I mean, he threw 57 passes against the Niners, wasn't sacked once. So that means they're going to throw quick. He's going to get out of trouble. So I look at the 4-man pass rush. Hey, can you answer the call again? After you did it against a completely patchwork Chargers line. Now you're going against actual starters on Sunday.
Yeah, and I think a big key as well is not allowing another Brock Bowers situation. The Cardinals have Trey McBride, who's arguably playing as well. He's probably playing better than any tight end in the league this year, particularly with Bowers and Kittle, guys like that missing chunks of the season. McBride already 71 catches on the year. Just an incredible young player there. And we saw the Jaguars in Las Vegas have no answers for Brock Bowers, scoring 3 touchdowns and almost single-handedly beating the Jaguars. What do you think will be some things that Anthony Campanile takes from that Raiders experience and applies to facing off against McBride?
Yeah, and I'll add that Schultz did some good things against the Texans at tight end that week. The common denominator is Devin Lloyd did not play in either game. I think getting him back will be key. But I think the other thing is, okay, if McBride really gets off to a great start, do you play more dime and put a defensive back against them? Not going to be able to out-physical him, but you'll be able to keep up with them, maybe break up a pass. So he's obviously number one issue for this Jaguar defense, because he's a terrific player, high volume, high production. So, you mentioned Bowers. They had less than no answers for him. So you go back to that tape. Okay, what about the coverage structure? Do you blitz less? So you have a guy in the middle of the field to maybe bracket. So I think I probably spent a lot of time yesterday trying to figure out what works best against McBride.
Yeah, and then, it's interesting. The Jaguars have struggled against backup quarterbacks, and they're going to see, a journeyman in Jacoby Brissett, a guy that's been in the league for a long time. He's 32. He has started 58 games in his career. I believe that's right. He's 20 and 38 as a starter. Yeah, so 58 starts in his career. So a very experienced player, and he's played well in coming in for Kyler Murray. But one thing that I think the reason why backups have had success against the Jaguars this season, you weren't prepared for Jake Browning. You were prepared for Burrow. Burrow gets hurt early. Browning comes in. Okay, now you're scrambling to figure out that, and Browning beats you. We saw it. There was another, Davis Mills. It was his first start for the Texans. I think it's a little bit easier this time for the Jags because they have 5 games of tape on Brissett in this offense with this team. And as you mentioned, he was very accurate, but threw it a ton, 47 of 57 last week. How much do you think that benefits Campanile and the defensive players to at least have a lot of film recently that they can utilize to help form a plan to stop Jacoby Brissett?
I think it benefits a lot because you have that, and also as you get a visitor here.
Oops.
If that cat was right here, I'd be like tearing up already because I'm so allergic. On Brissett, he has started a lot of games this league, so the coaches on this staff have probably prepared for him. I'm sure there's a couple players who have played against him. So, he is going to be so they'll be ready for him. This is a game they should win. Go out there and prove that you're a playoff team by taking care of business as a road favorite. Don't, I use this term on Twitter during the Houston game. Don't fart around and give the Cardinals hope. So to me, that would be my message if I'm Liam Cohen, is going to be aggressive coming out offensively to see if you can score and put Arizona into a pass-first mentality.
Yeah, absolutely. Jacob Simons joining us, helping us out on Duval Rundown. This is Hoops. Say hello, Hoops. We certainly appreciate Jacob running the show for Duval Rundown. Jacob, let's say hello to our sponsor, please.
I'm Rick Ballou, Jacksonville Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram Westside, proud partner of the Jaguars. Drive with confidence. Every new vehicle comes with our exclusive lifetime warranty. 7030 Commonwealth Avenue or online at jaxwest.com.
Let's take a look at Arizona's defense. Again, not a lot of superstars, so to speak, but they do have a few guys that are really off to great starts. Let's start with Josh Sweat. 9 sacks, which is a pretty big number. And the thing that stood out to me looking at Sweat's numbers is 3 forced fumbles. It feels like Trevor has done a good job of protecting the football. It doesn't feel like fumbles have been a big issue this year. But how important will that be, for blocking Sweat, but when Sweat does get free, for Trevor to have that presence of mind to keep the ball kind of tight to his body?
Yeah, I think Sweat's the number one guy, and then obviously old Frank Calais Campbell. But let's start with Sweat. We last saw him in the Super Bowl for Philadelphia. He parlayed that into a big free agent deal with the Cardinals. And if I'm the Cardinals, my plan is simple. I find Walker Little, and I put Sweat and I put Campbell on that side, and let the Jaguars figure it out. And then also, you don't know about Anton Harrison, so Cole Van Lannon at right tackle. So I'd be a little wary if I'm Liam Cohen about this pass rush because of Sweat, as you mentioned. And you look at the Cardinals' numbers. They're middle of the road defensively. They're giving up 26 points a game, but I think what 49ers benefited was some short fields last week. So yeah, Sweat's an issue. I think Calais is still an issue on the interior. So this is not a completely terrible Cardinal defense, but they got a couple. The rookie Will Johnson at corner. Buda Baker. He's not even. Oh, there he is. Strong safety. He's a tackler. So they definitely do present. They present more issues on defense than I think they do on offense right now.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. Yeah, Buda Baker leads them with 69 tackles, and he's sort of that kind of versatile, like kind of poor man's Derwin James, sort of. Would you say like versatile safety? They can kind of put him all over. I mean, Liam Cohen's going to meet with us in an hour, and I'm sure he'll give us his thoughts on the strengths of Buda Baker's game, but a versatile piece back there that they've got to identify.
Yeah, and I think if you're the Jaguar offense with Brenton Strange, he'll have another week of practice. They have an open roster spot, so I wonder if they're sort of saving that to activate Strange at the end of the week. He'd help in that as far as a chip block before he runs his route, sort of, or let Sweat have to take a wider route around to the edge. So this comes back to this run game for the Jaguars. You're not going to run it that much every week. That was sort of an anomaly of a game. But if you can get into the 30s again, that means you negate their pass rush. That means you're controlling the clock. And I like what they did in terms of different types of runs last week, getting on the perimeter. The middle toss was important. Even the Wildcats scored a touchdown. So that's where I think if you have one takeaway from that Charger Jaguar game on Sunday was, okay, yes, it was the standard, but everybody has a standard. That was plan A. That's how they want to win games offensively.
Ryan, before we get your prediction for how we think the game will go, I know you're going to be out in Glendale. What's going on at Jacksonville.com that we should look forward to reading?
Well, I did an AFC playoff picture. It should be online here today, doing a comment on each of the teams. And what's fascinating about the AFC, Hayes, you do the top 7 seeds, and then you do in the hunt. In the hunt is Kansas City and Baltimore. So they're 5-5. The Ravens are on the come.
And Houston, who, by the way, has what's looking like a historically great defense.
Yeah, and they got Buffalo on Thursday night at home.
Yeah.
Baltimore 1-4 now. 1-5 now, 5-5. I think they're going to win the AFC North. I don't think Pittsburgh's going to make the playoffs. So probably later in the week, a little bit of Trevor Lawrence. Haven't really talked about him that much in the last month or so. And then in Saturday's paper with the notes column, we're going to lead with how the Jaguars have played after this kind of big win. Have they put 2 of these games together? Have they put 2 wins together? Have they won the game after a blowout? The data ain't great, but that probably doesn't surprise Jaguar fans who've been following this team for 30 years.
Yeah, the data never is great. It's just a question of will it be atrocious or will it be subpar? But that is really interesting. I'll look forward to reading that for sure. So, okay, you'll be out there covering the game. So fans can certainly, again, follow Ryan. I'm sure you are already, but at Ryan O'Halloran if you're not. How do you think this game plays out, and who do you like in the game?
Yeah, I like the Jaguars, and I think they will win the game. I'll go. I mean, my score is subject to change, but off the top of my head, something like a 27-17 game. That would be a quality road win. Anytime you win by double digits, I just think they're hitting this Arizona team at the right time. They're injured. They haven't played well lately. So, continue the Cardinals' misery.
Sounds good, Ryan. We certainly appreciate it. We'll see you in about an hour at the stadium for Liam Cohen's press conference, and a full day of Wednesday availability. Should be a lot of fun. We'll be back on Duval Rundown on Friday with Rick Ballou as we get set for our final thoughts before the Jaguars head to Arizona for a not incredibly impactful, but an important game to keep the momentum going against the Cardinals. That's going to do it for us. Have a great Wednesday, and we'll look forward to talking with you on Friday. Thanks for watching Duval Rundown.